Guys, I believe it was the vaccinations, not Tylenol, not in my situation. Vaccinations, 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 vaccinations. Tell me to stop. Okay. So that's what I believe. Let's not lose each other in this. Profound autism is finally being talked about on a world stage, and we're throwing a fit. We love you, aunties and uncles. Those that left could not stay, and those that stayed could not leave. And that's how I feel about it. Vaccinations, not Tylenol. God bless you guys in Jesus' name. It was a historic day, and that's how I feel. Amen.
Could someone kindly explain this liberal logic to me? The amount of posts that I have seen today of women, pregnant women, planning to be pregnant women, whatever, saying that they are planning to purposely take Tylenol while pregnant just because the current administration is telling them not to. That's worth the risk to you? What if your child does end up, something's wrong with your child, and they find out that you decided you were going to take Tylenol just because you were told not to? How will you feel? I just don't understand the logic. I really don't. Whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, or you think that it's bullshit, fine. But why take it? Why take the risk? There's 4 million other things you can take.
Okay, so I am 18 weeks pregnant today, and I have an absolutely splitting headache right now. And so the only pain reliever that pregnant patients are allowed to take until yesterday was acetaminophen, and also known as Tylenol. This has been proven safe through scientific studies for pregnant women for decades. And so I have a headache. And so I'm going to take some of this medicine because I have a headache, and I should not have to suffer through and tough it out just because some people think that taking this medicine may or may not cause my future child to have autism. A couple things on that. Literally, where is the actual science to prove it? All the scientific studies show that this is the safest thing that we can take for fever, for headache, for anything like that that we might need pain relievers for. Acetaminophen came to exist after the first diagnoses of autism. So the cause and effect is still very questionable there. Also, if my child ends up having autism or anything, fine. Like, what's the big deal? We will love our child. Our child will have access to the care and treatments that they need or don't need for any health conditions or medical conditions, physical health, mental health, anything that they have. We will support them and we will get them the care that they need. And I'm not going to tough it out just because someone feels like that's what I should do. So here's to all the moms to be out there who are popping their Tylenol today, just like me.
I don't care if you are pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine. The way that doctors' offices push vaccines is honestly insane to me. I know that this is a sensitive subject, especially if you're pregnant, have been pregnant, work in the pharmaceutical industry or medical industry, anything like that. But this is just my take on it. And I'm sorry, but not sorry. I had my OB appointment today and I am 31 weeks pregnant. And the doctor comes in and says, at your next appointment, we will be doing an STD screening. And I was like, well, we already did that at the beginning. She's like, yep, we just do it again. It's Florida protocol. And I was like, no, so we're not doing that. And then she's like, and then at your next one, also, you're going to be getting the Tdap vaccine. So are you going to put a question? Like, do you want to get the Tdap vaccine? Do you know what the Tdap vaccine is? No, it's just you're getting the Tdap vaccine. I'm sorry, no. So I told her, I was like, no, I'm not getting that. And I'm sorry to step on any toes, but I am not a vaccinator. So she goes, well, do you know what it is? And I was like, yep. And she said, and you still don't want it? No, I don't. Okay. This is not the first time this has happened. This happened a couple appointments ago when they said I had to get some other vaccine and get my blood drawn for this disease and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Can we at least, I get it, that's part of your job. I totally understand, but maybe let's ask. Let's ask if that's something you want to do. Not just tell someone you're getting this. Because what if a vulnerable person is in there and she's afraid to say no or stand up for herself, and so she just gets it because you told her she has to get it? It's not very fair.
28 weeks pregnant. You know what I'm gonna take? Some Tylenol, acetaminophen. It's gonna work like a charm, and my baby won't have autism.
As an autism parent, let me be the first to say the Trump administration can kiss my ass. Yep, I said it. Because this is the same administration that was saying people with autism cannot be active members of society, correct? Right? And now all of a sudden we focus on the cause of autism, and you're trying to tell me it's Tylenol, which is a bunch of crap. I don't care. It is. I did everything right. I did everything right my first pregnancy, right? Prenatals, every doctor's appointment. I never took anything that was not good for the baby with my first pregnancy. And that is my oldest son, who has autism. My youngest didn't do nothing right. No prenatals, Tylenol. I wasn't eating correctly. Nothing right. I was stressed. My ex-husband was cheating on me during that time. But I didn't do anything right. He doesn't have autism. I took Tylenol with that pregnancy. He's completely fine. I don't want to hear it. Previously, I was told it was the vaccines that I gave my child, but I gave those same vaccines to my youngest, and he's fine. I don't want to hear about the causes of autism. I am over it at this point in time in my life, especially with my son being 9. Give me information for some new programs that will help us parents raise our kids. Give me that. Make the waiting lists that some of us are on to assist our children shorter. Why is there a waiting list at all? Can we do something about that? Can we get funding to feed our kids that are on a limited diet? Can we get that? At this point, I don't care about the cause of autism, because autism is here. It is already here. Our kids already are autistic. Can we get some help? That's what I want. Can you give us solutions on that? Y'all are focused on the wrong thing. And truth be told, it's BS. To anybody listening and agreeing with this man, please unfollow me, because y'all are focused on the wrong thing right now. I don't want to hear it. I, as an autism parent, do not want to hear it.
I'm already getting a ton of phone calls and messages about what I think about the press conference today with Trump and RFK. So I just thought I would kind of say what I think. So they first touched on the use of Tylenol during pregnancy, and also they said something about it, giving it to your babies and kids when they're infants. And I didn't use Tylenol a ton when I was pregnant, but I'm pretty sure like with Laker, I obviously used it like when I felt sick or had a headache. But the crazy thing is when we went to Mexico a year ago to do stem cells for Laker, they were like, hey, after the procedure, he could be having flu-like symptoms. So they said, if he is, just give him Motrin. And I'm like, oh, well, can't I do Motrin and Tylenol switching off? Like, that's what I've always been told to do. And they were like, oh no, like, we don't do Tylenol here. Tylenol causes severe inflammation in the brain and in the body. And they were just like, Tylenol. So yeah, it was crazy when all the doctors in Mexico were like, do not use Tylenol. Like, you shouldn't be using Tylenol ever on your kids or babies. And I was like, well, that's great, because Laker, from the time he was newborn baby to 1, had like 20 ear infections, and he was on Tylenol, switching off between Tylenol and Motrin that whole time. So I'm like, I can see that causes issues. If it's causing inflammation in the brain and like inflammation in the body, then obviously, yeah, that's not good. And think about it. Every time you go to give your kids vaccinations, what do they tell you to give your baby before you come? They say, give them Tylenol because they could get a fever after, or give them Tylenol after. Also, it's crazy because it's super frustrating. About 8 years ago, I got a message about joining a trial against Tylenol, saying, has your child been affected by autism? Tylenol could be the cause, but they swept that under the rug. So they've kind of known that could be it for a while, I feel like. But I do have to say, yes, I think Tylenol can cause issues with swelling of the brain, causing, more severe issues with autism, ADHD, whatever. But I do not think that's the only cause. I know a lot of people who didn't take Tylenol when they were pregnant or didn't give it to their kids a ton. I do think that they also touched on vaccines. They said one of the first vaccines your baby gets within the first hour of life is that hepatitis B vaccine, which is a sexually transmitted disease. Why are newborn babies needing that? No. So they said that they want to get that taken off. Like, you can give that to your kid when they're 13 or whatever, when you're worried about them getting a sexually transmitted disease. They also said they want the CDC to go over the schedule, because there's no reason our kids should be getting 75 to 80 vaccines by the time they're 3. Like, that's not acceptable. When I was a baby, when we were babies, it was like 12 by the time we were 3. So obviously autism has gone way up because of all the crap we're putting in their bodies. So yeah, that's kind of my take on everything. That I think it's a whole bunch of things that are causing the rise in autism. Obviously, they're saying Tylenol, vaccines. We're getting way more vaccines. We're getting way more crap in our body from food, the environment, all of it. But what I am excited for is that they're finally starting to talk about it. They said that this is just the beginning. They're going to do way more studies, look into it more. So yeah, and they also mentioned leucovorin, which is funny because I already had an appointment for Laker to get on that medication because the autism community has been talking about it for like a year now, saying that it can help. So we're going to try that with Laker, and we are actually going to do stem cells again next month for him. So anyways, stem cells help reduce inflammation, which inflammation in the brain and everything else. So hopefully this will all be good, and hugs to everyone that are feeling all the emotions, because I sure am today. And one more thing, because I'm sure I'm going to get interesting messages back from what I said. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do this or that. All I'm saying is that I'm sick of information and studies and things being pushed under the rug for an agenda. I think we need all the information, all the data, all the studies, so parents can make informed decisions with knowing all the knowledge that they do. I do nothing before Hazel and Laker. So that's what I'm hoping, that they give all the information on both ends of the spectrum, on both sides, so everyone can just feel more informed and make better decisions. So yeah, that's all. Love everyone, especially the autism community. I know this can be like a mixture of emotions because everyone, we're on different levels of the spectrum. And so yeah, that's all. I'm signing off for the day. Goodbye.
I know that everyone's kid is different, but my son is 2. He turned 2 in May. He doesn't really speak full sentences. Like, he says mama, bye, sometimes he says dada, and every time I try to express this to people, they always say like, oh, everybody learns differently and you have to read to him or you have to let him watch learning videos. And I'm like, I do all of that, to the point where it's so frustrating because I see other 2-year-olds and they speak very well. And honestly, when me and my husband really sit down and think about it, because we're willing to take accountability, maybe we could have read to him more, a lot more, less screen time, but we believe that vaccines may cause my son to have a speech delay. I have to find the video, but he's like probably 1.5 because it's football season, so he's probably a little 1.5. And he's standing there screaming his brother's name. He's standing there screaming, Jameer, like you can hear it. And now he doesn't say anyone's name. And for a moment, he completely stopped saying words. Like, the only word that he said was mama. And even now, he says like bye, like he can barely pronounce bye. But before, he said his words more clear and he enunciated them better. And I truly and honestly believe that vaccines may have caused my son's speech delay. And it's like, okay, it's no use in crying over spilled milk. But his doctor gave me referrals of speech therapists, and she's like, it's going to take a year to get on the wait list. So maybe by that time, he won't have this problem. Maybe he just needs more time to talk. And even that is frustrating because I'm like, I'm still going to try. So I called the places, and 2 of them weren't even like open to accepting new clients, and one of them's like, I'm gonna be honest, it's gonna take a long time, and just basically I'm just getting the runaround. And it's just like so frustrating, and I'm trying not to cry because how do I help my son?
There was a study done by Harvard, Columbia, Johns Hopkins, Mount Sinai. There was 46 different studies and collections of data that pointed to the opinion or the possibility that there could be a link between prenatal Tylenol and autism. That there might be, right? And that message gets passed on by somebody that you don't like. So your response is to freebase the fucking product like it's freaking, like it's Colombian booger sugar and you're Richard Pryor. And your response is to do that because you don't like the person that passed the information on to you. This is why leftism is a disease and a mental disorder. You cannot reason with people that are willing to do this. This is their hatred for that man being greater than their love for a potential child. And I said what I said. I'm not saying that you have to not take Tylenol. I'm just saying that the knee-jerk reaction to freaking pumping yourself full of Tylenol just because it came from the words about the study came from somebody you don't like is fucking unhinged. It is absolutely unhinged. The world sees directly through you people at this point. You freaking seriously need to look through a different lens. It's for your own good.
I watched Donald Trump's entire autism press conference and took 4 pages of notes. Big takeaway, he says Tylenol causes autism and that you shouldn't take Tylenol if you're pregnant and you shouldn't give Tylenol to your child. Trump says that we need to wait until 12 to give our children the hepatitis B vaccine because it's a sexually transmitted disease, so there's no reason to give it to an infant. Other parts of the world don't have Tylenol, who also don't have autism. First time in the press conference, he says, don't take Tylenol. There's no downside to not taking it when you're pregnant. He's going to issue a physician's notice and a safety label change to Tylenol and initiate a propaganda campaign that's basically a series of infomercials telling parents not to take the drug. Other fever reducer alternatives, and you should only use Tylenol when the treatment is required. He says that in children, you could actually prolong viral illnesses if you give them Tylenol. He said it could also be a folate deficiency. Let's not forget, this is all Trump, not a doctor. They're recommending a drug called leucovorin, basically for a cure to autism, a folate receptor drug. There's potential pathways for reversal of autism if you take this drug. RFK said 40% of mothers with autism believe that it was caused by vaccines that were given to their child, and that liberals are silencing and demonizing anti-vaxxer women. RFK claims that the model that they're currently using for medical research is going to yield results in the future for all other chronic illnesses. The NIH will use machine learning to help find the cure for autism. Machine learning, aka AI, to help find the cure for autism. We will not delay, as scientists often do in this medical research. There's a historic shift in medical culture that we are about to see in the United States. They're going to be sending letters to doctors to warn them of the dangers of recommending Tylenol to their pregnant patients. An overwhelming body of evidence pointing to an association between Tylenol and autism exists. The mindless practice of treating a fever is pointless, and that the body's natural way of ridding a virus is healthy for a pregnant mother and for a young child. We should just let them have a fever instead of giving them Tylenol. That is an unnecessary drug. The best way through the bureaucratic silos to cure autism is to cut through all of that and get rid of the middleman. The government figures out the cure for autism. Autism is an autoimmune reaction to a receptor in the brain to folate, as well as a reaction to Tylenol during pregnancy, apparently. They claim that state Medicaid is going to cover leucovorin, and that states will also monitor families prescribed and taking leucovorin, and that they'll be collecting medical data on the state level and through insurance companies. This is going to be the first FDA-approved treatment of autism, leucovorin. The president was unwilling to wait 5 years for scientific results the traditional way. Not a quote. This is me saying this to you. There is no legal or criminal consequences for taking or prescribing Tylenol that were announced in this press conference today. Here's some quote highlights from Trump. Not a doctor. At this press conference. I just highly recommend that you don't use Tylenol while you're pregnant. Don't take Tylenol. Don't take it until you absolutely have to. Don't let them pump your baby up with the biggest pile of stuff. Spread it out. I highly recommend giving the hepatitis B vaccine at 12 years old. On MMRs, break them up into 3 or 4 rounds. Don't give Tylenol to your baby after it's born. If you are pregnant, don't take Tylenol. When you have your baby, don't give them Tylenol at all. Too much liquid. Too much stuff going into babies' bodies. And he tells a story about a woman supposedly who worked at Trump Tower at the front desk who had the perfect child. And then she came crying one day to work and he said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "My boy, I've lost my boy. I took him for a vaccine and he developed a 108-degree fever and I lost him. He's gone." That was the following day after the vaccine. I've seen it too, 3 or 4 times in my life, where they'll take them in for the vaccine and then the child is just gone. Still quoting Trump, "Tough it out. You're going to have to tough it out, mothers. Much like a lot of things in life, you're going to have to tough it out while you're pregnant. Don't take Tylenol. It doesn't hurt not to do it. Don't take Tylenol, ever. It'll be uncomfortable. It'll be more challenging in your pregnancy, but don't take it. Don't take Tylenol when you're pregnant, and don't give it to your child after it's born. This is artificially induced by something. Autism is artificially induced by something." RFK puts in, "I've never seen a case of full-blown, head-banging, non-potty trained autism in a 70-year-old man." Again, that's a direct quote. Back to Trump. It's not like, oh, if you don't take Tylenol, you're gonna die. Just don't take Tylenol. It's notable that a reporter asked him during the follow-ups, "Do you think the autism spectrum is too broad, and what is the administration planning on doing about that?" Donald Trump replied, "The numbers are unacceptable now." Then he goes on to say again, "Just don't take it unless it's absolutely necessary." What's the worst that could happen? The worst is nothing could happen. Just don't take Tylenol. I expect to see amazing results by the time I leave this office. Amazing numbers. Cuba can't afford Tylenol, and I hear they have no autism. Autism doesn't exist in the Amish community. Like other countries around the world that don't take Tylenol, they just don't have autism. A reporter asked, "Why are liberals against finding the cause and cure of autism?" To which, of course, he replied, "I don't know. I don't know why." And then he closed out the entire thing by saying, "One more time, I'll say it again, don't take Tylenol and don't give it to your baby after it's born." They are spouting medical misinformation from the White House. Mothers will die. Children in the womb will die. Kids, after they are born, who need fever-reducing medication will die because people are taking the recommendations of a non-medical professional who's now cosplaying as president and a doctor.